Welcome in. I'm Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com. I hope everybody out there is safe and sound. We are Thursday, April 9th, about 3:55 p.m. Eastern. And man, my only complaint with the stay-at-home orders this week is, man, it's time for a haircut. Bad. I don't think I've had this much hair on my head in like a decade or more. But anywho, we've got Caesars Entertainment, Sportsbook in Vegas. They have got out their season win totals for the 2020 college football season awfully early. Love it, love it. And I've got three ACC ones that I like, and I wrote up a piece that you can check out on Major Wager, where I dove into pretty much all of them. Not so much Georgia Tech and a couple of also rans, but let's start with Clemson. I know it's chalky as hell, but 11.5 with that schedule. Now, if it goes more expensive than minus 140, might want to hit the brakes on this. And I'm not saying for a huge amount. Those familiar with me, I don't like to eat a lot of chalk, and minus 140. I mean, some people might not think of that as a lot of chalk, but I do. So I'm not saying a huge bet, but Clemson's going to go undefeated again this year, barring injury to Trevor Lawrence, which is always possible. But they would still even have a great chance to go undefeated. They have a light schedule. They are favored by 17 or more right now in the games of the year, in every game with one exception, at Notre Dame. And I'm going to guess they will send a huge contingent up to South Bend via Chicago for a big weekend. And maybe take that stadium over again like Georgia did 2 or 3 years ago. So Dabo has got 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. Most importantly, Trevor's back. Travis Etienne is back. I'm not a big Heisman bettor, but I've seen him anywhere from 27-1 to 33-1. Might be worth a flyer. Wide receiver Justin Ross back. Home games, Akron, the Citadel, South Carolina, and then the non-conference is completed that trip to South Bend that I mentioned. Easy peasy, undefeated. They're just going to lay the wood to everybody. All right, so let's go to my next one, and it is under 9. Minus 110 is flat. Minus 110 either way on the Canes, who were an unmitigated disaster during year 1 of the Manny Diaz era, limping to a 6-7 record both straight up and against the spread. Went winless against Conference USA competition. Took a cream cheese bagel in Shreveport, where they spent their New Year's or right after Christmas, somewhere in there. Wouldn't want to ever spend a New Year's or Christmas in Shreveport. Yeah, but the Canes did, and they took a bagel from La Tech, and they lost to FIU, and they're not very good. And they do have Derek King, and I love him, the Houston grad transfer, 50-10 TDI&T ratio, along with 28 rushing touchdowns for his career, and 3 touchdown catches, and a kickoff return for a touchdown dating back to his freshman year. He's legit. He will have an instant impact. However, the Canes only have 4 starters coming back on defense, and they had some dudes on that defense, and they lost a lot of them. Derek King will give them a lift offensively for sure, but they're not going 9-3. I just do not see that at all. So they open with Temple. That'll be a W. Then they've got Wagner for a W. I mean, then they play UAB at home. I'm going to give that W to Miami, but if you lose to FIU, you can lose to UAB maybe. Then they're at Sparty. I didn't think much of the Sparty hire, and D'Antonio, the way he set that up was pretty lame, as previously discussed. I'm going to give him a W over Pitt at home as well. I'm not just going to pencil in at Wake, short week. I'm not just going to pencil that one in. maybe they get 1 out of 2 at Michigan State or at Wake. But even regardless, even if they're undefeated at this point, which would be wow, that would be 6-0. That wouldn't be a good start for the under 9. But look, North Carolina is better than them. Now Miami may win at home, but I think North Carolina is the better team. I think they're the second best team in the ACC. I'm on a wait and see basis with Virginia, which gets Miami in Charlottesville. And I'm just totally interrupted by my text. Anyhow, sorry. Then they get the Noles at home. That one can go either way. Then they got to go at Vatech. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to the wait and see mode with Virginia, replacing Bryce Perkins. I don't know what they're going to get out of the quarterback position, but late October, that's going to be a cold weather game, most likely in Charlottesville. That one could go either way. FSU at home could go either way. At Vatech, they'll probably lose that. I think they will. At Georgia Tech, should win, but who knows? Duke at home. There's a lot of these are losable. I mean, Miami was not very good last year, and they lost most of their defense. They're going to be a lot worse on defense. So where am I seeing the L's? Because I wasn't chalking up many for sure ones. Well, I'm going to say at Vatech is a for sure L. Out of North Carolina and FSU at home, I think they lose at least one of those. And then at Michigan State and at Wake Forest, I think they lose one of those. So that gets us to 9-3, which is just a push, and we're not playing to push. They could lose at Sparty and at Wake, and they could lose at Virginia. They can look. Miami's just not a 9-3 team. I'm not gonna, say for sure they're gonna lose this specifically. But there's a lot of losables on here. At Michigan State, losable. At Wake, losable. Everything on the road is losable. At Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech will be better. They should be by, late season, which is in mid-November. And, Miami, 3 road games from October 31st and out, which means cold weather, which they have not thrived in through the years. In fact, they haven't thrived, period. They've only won 10 games once in the last decade. So for them to be under 9 is the huge for the U these days. All right, let's go North Carolina. So I said I think they're the second best team in the ACC. I think they'll get their rematch with Clemson in the ACC championship game. And obviously, when I say rematch, they gave Clemson hell and then some in a 21-20 win for Clemson in Chapel Hill last year. All right, so why I'm bullish on Carolina? Sam Howell. We'll just start right there. Sam Howell. Thank you for flipping on the semis and going to UNC to become the franchise QB for Mac Brown in his second tour of duty with the Tar Heels. All right, this guy, true freshman last year, starts from day one. 3,641 passing yards, 38-7 TDI and T ratio, a QB rating of 160.25. He was second only to Trevor Lawrence in basically every passing stat in the ACC last year as a true freshman. The win total is 8.5 flat, so we're not dealing with any juice here. They can't complain about their draw from the other side, from the ACC Atlantic. They get a home game against Pitt, and they're at Boston College. Now, it is in late November, which means very cold weather, which is a little advantageous for BC. But, BC's rebuilding, transitioning, new coach, all that. So, and look, UNC has got a ton of their skill players back. In fact, they have 10 starters back on offense and 7 on defense. And remember now, 6 of their losses last year, all 6 of them, I should say, were all one-possession games. And they lost 3 of those games by 6 combined points. One of them in 4 overtimes at Lane Field in Blacksburg. So the Tar Heels were good last year. they're only going to keep improving. Howell's going to keep improving. And, yeah, Clemson UNC will rematch. Clemson will go over. UNC will go over. And Miami will go under. But before I close, let's go over UNC's schedule. At UCF week 1, I'm going to call that an L. Call that an L. Now, they can win that one. Definitely can win that one. For sure can win that game. But on the road, in the, what do they call it? The bounce house? I don't need to know the name of that stadium because we're never going there. Unless you want to do 2 for 1. All right. Auburn, week 2. Tough start for the Tar Heels. Auburn, week 2. Bo Nix's sophomore season in the ATL at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. For what it's worth, if anything, extra day of rest for UNC. I said that. I'm just assuming Auburn. Actually, I can click it right here. I'm assuming Auburn plays on Saturday in week 1, and they do against Alcorn State. Shout out to the late, great Air McNair. So, extra day of rest after playing at UCF, and that's going to be a brutal heat game, too, in Orlando. Oh, yikes. September 4th. Ooh, whew, that is humidity. So, Auburn, toss-up game. James Madison at home, W. Georgia Tech at home, W. At Virginia, new quarterback, early October, W. Virginia Tech at home, nothing easy there, but that's a W. At Duke, W. At Miami, either way, I think they'll win it. Then you got UConn at home, layup. UConn goes back to FCS this year, don't they? Pitt at home, W. At BC, I think it's a W. NC State at home on a short week, advantageous to the home team, W. Now, am I saying they're going 11-1? Not necessarily. They may lose at Miami. They could lose to Auburn and UCF. But even if they do, they're still sitting there at 9-3. But I think they've got a chance to go 10-2. They've just got to start winning the close games. And again, all their losses were close last year. So UNC over 8.5, Miami under 9, Clemson over 11.5. Nothing too terribly aggressive amount-wise with any of these. But those are my 3 plays. ACC, Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Over and out.